There now follows an electoral broadcast by the PDP.
Good evening. My name is Gavin Gafan. I was born and grew up in Gibraltar and have recently returned home after having spent 11 years in the UK, where I obtained my doctorate in microbiology. During my time abroad, I visited Gibraltar regularly, although it was only when I moved back permanently that I realized how much the environment around us had deteriorated. An increasing problem with traffic, the inability to find a parking space, dirty beaches, and on occasions a prominent bad drain smell in the air were my first observations as to this decline. At first, I simply mentioned these observations to others and wasn't surprised when most people agreed the situation had got progressively worse over the last few years. I therefore decided it was time to become more proactive in relation to our environment and to put my money where my mouth was. I decided to join the Progressive Democratic Party as I believe they have a fresh outlook towards politics not yet seen in Gibraltar. Since then, I have been focusing on policies to help Gibraltar's environment as well as other areas of reform, including health, transport and development, all of which affect or are affected by our environment. Pollution affects us all, no matter who we are, and I would like to raise the point that it is the intention of the European Union for all of its members, including Gibraltar, to drastically reduce emissions of specific pollutants by the year 2010. 2008 is almost upon us, and currently many of these pollutants which are classified as being dangerous to our health and environment are either being exceeded or are barely meeting the presently imposed EU limits in Gibraltar. This means that it will be hard enough to ensure that we in Gibraltar comply with the current EU-imposed targets of 2005, let alone comply with the new much stricter limits that are due to come into force. How will Gibraltar manage to cope with this change unless immediate action to reduce emissions is taken? If nothing changes between now and 2010, not only will Gibraltar risk being fined by the European Union, money which could be better spent elsewhere such as improving our health service, but our environment will also continue to deteriorate. Unfortunately, the present administration has not only failed to act on this issue, but has been further responsible for exacerbating it, when failing to adequately plan Gibraltar's building development. As a result, we are witnessing a massive boom in simultaneous construction taking place all over Gibraltar, which is causing the deterioration of our environment and heritage. Dust and noise pollution are high. Our roads are saturated with heavy lorries that not only cause an increase to traffic, but also damage our roads. This is not to say I am against developing Gibraltar, only that development needs to be done in a much more regulated and environmentally friendly manner. It is a well-known fact that construction is responsible for high levels of carbon emissions. We therefore need to update our building regulations so that new developments adopt environmentally friendly design and construction techniques. Examples of this include the introduction of green roofing to new developments. This consists of vegetative roof covering that actively reduce carbon pollution and reduce heat islands, treat nitrogen pollution and help insulate buildings. This cuts down on the excessive need for heating and air conditioning. These types of green areas would be supplemented with green and leafy parks and playgrounds for our community to enjoy. A PDP government would also be keen in introducing the planting of coniferous trees throughout Gibraltar. It has been demonstrated that these trees help to actively trap particulate pollution and would therefore help, in conjunction with other efforts, to reduce our pollution emission levels. Green areas within our urbanized areas are currently lacking and are essential for Gibraltar that is rapidly becoming a concrete jungle. It is further unacceptable that none of these new urbanized areas have provided for the inclusion of cycle lanes, despite the fact the new development plan promises to do so. There is very little infrastructure encouraging alternative greener forms of transport such as cycling, and as it presently stands, even walking around Gibraltar can be an unpleasant experience, with all the car fumes, drain smells, litter and lack of green areas to provide shade in the hot summer months. As well as introducing new green areas to Gibraltar, it is vital for any government to protect the most valuable green area we currently possess, namely the Upper Rock Nature Reserve. It is essential that we manage the Upper Rock in a way that ensures the sustaining of our natural history and biodiversity in concert with the revamping of the area to make Gibraltar a likely location for the eco-tourist. One simple way we will all be able to help curb the deterioration of our environment is by recycling our rubbish. Currently, Gibraltar's waste is transported to the Los Barrios dump in Spain, where recyclable materials are salvaged whenever possible. There is, however, a problem in that because Gibraltar does not separate household waste at source, much of it is spoiled by the time it gets to Los Barrios, and is therefore taken directly to a landfill. Recycling has been around for many years in numerous countries and has been very successful. It is unacceptable that this type of collection has not yet been introduced to particularly considering the fact very little infrastructure and funding is required. Sometimes it can be frustrating for the general public, as the issues I have just mentioned need government intervention for this to go forward. Recycling alone, however, is not the answer to all our problems. The sensible use of our finite resources is also an important issue to consider. During the Clean Up the World campaign, I was amazed at the amount of plastic collected. Plastic is made from petrol, and this is a valuable resource we are squandering. Consider this example. Say a third of the Gibraltarian population, around 10,000 people, use an average of 2 plastic bags per week when doing their grocery shopping. This would mean a total of 20,000 plastic bags are being used each week. Multiply this by 52 weeks a year and you'll be surprised to see that this amounts to 1,040,000 bags being used and discarded each year. Note this is a conservative estimate, but a shocking one nonetheless. Imagine how much of our resources we can save by cutting down on the use of disposable plastic bags, simply by reusing this or going one step further and using a non-disposable, environmentally friendly material bag instead. Gibraltar and the Bay Area have been made to suffer with indiscriminate levels of pollutants. A cross-border epidemiological study is long overdue and is necessary so as to analyze the effect that Bay operations are having on our health and on our environment. Studies need to be commissioned to investigate the impacts that the refinery and other industries such as Acerinox are having on the communities living around the Bay. Furthermore, Gibraltar also has to take an active role in decreasing its own emissions by radically reducing traffic, as well as renewing the current generating stations with technology that reduces both chemical and noise pollution. Furthermore, fuel bunkering operations should also no longer be allowed to continue if adequate vapor recovery technology is not implemented. Good leadership, vision, and ultimately practicing what is preached are required for not only successful pollution reduction, but also for placing the government at the forefront of Gibraltar's environmental conservation. This can only happen if you vote for the Progressive Democratic Party. At these elections, you, the voter, will have to choose how to best cast your vote. You can choose to vote for all 10 candidates of your preferred of the 2 main parties. You can choose to block votes against the party you want to keep out of power, in other words, choose to cast a negative vote. We would ask you to consider voting for all 6 PDP candidates. If you agree with our policies, we would ask you to cast a positive vote to help give us a voice. We are a hard-working and capable team who can make a difference to the way Gibraltar is governed. Even if you wish to vote for your preferred party and feel that that party is the best option to run Gibraltar for the next 4 years, then remember that at these elections, if you block vote for 9 candidates, they can form government. This means that you can still have 1 spare vote. We ask you to give the Progressive Democratic Party that extra vote. To vote for the PDP is not, as some will try to convince you, a wasted vote. Visit our website at www.pdp.gi and read our manifesto. If you believe in our manifesto commitments and if you believe in our team, vote for all 6 PDP candidates at these elections. On the 11th of October, cast a positive vote for Gibraltar. Vote for a fresh start. Vote Asopardi, vote Cruz, vote Gafan, vote Peach, vote Sene, vote Walsh. Give us your vote, give us a voice. Thank you.
That was an electoral broadcast by the PDP.